Welcome to the Intentional Household podcast. It's Laura Wilson here, co-founder of Intentional Household, certified Colby consultant and print coach. On today's exciting episode, we have Tatiana Rivers, who is our marketing manager at Remax Wealth Builders Real Estate, but she is also a culinary trained chef and mom to 3 kids. We wanted her on today's episode talking about healthy eating for the family, because this is something that we talk about all the time. And with her expertise and skills and my expertise in nutrition and cooking as well, despite that, we still have challenges every day feeding a family, each with 3 kids.
Yes.
So welcome, Tatiana.
Thank you for having me.
So I just want to get into it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the concepts or principles you like to follow around healthy eating in your household and some of the practices that you guys follow every day.
I know. Only I was that organized. I wish. Again, it's funny. I have a culinary background. As you mentioned, this is a previous life, my life before children, of when I had a love for the culinary arts. I, went to culinary school in France. I had a catering company. I had a whole other existence that then clashed with my wanting to have a family. Like, really, it just the scheduling, the lifestyle is a whole other problem. It just doesn't work as well. So I transitioned into marketing, as you mentioned, and even with everything I know, and I mean, I worked in some really high intense kitchens where you had to be so productive and efficient. I mean, the show The Bear is not an exaggeration. And Gordon Ramsay's kitchens is not
real.
An exaggeration. Yes, like it is like military. Someone is yelling at you, and you're working as fast as humanly possible. That is what I was trained under, and I actually excelled and enjoyed it. So it's crazy to think that dinner time is still such a struggle to get things done on time for everybody, with having that knowledge. So if I'm struggling with it, everyone.
That's right.
Everyone is struggling with it.
Yes.
That it doesn't, not to feel bad about it, because even the most trained in the industry have issues with this. And there's so many reasons why. For me, I would say, oh my gosh, there's so much about just getting yourself organized with your time. That is, still a struggle, and like it can be done better. And I think taking the time to reflect on that will set you up for success. So there's just the timing of getting stuff done in a busy day with activities, of just trying to balance all those things. We can get into tools and tricks on that I do try to implement all the time, not perfectly. And then there's the nutrition side of things. I mean, my kids are brutal at wanting to have snacks. And when you're low on time, and energy, it's sometimes so easy to just be like, yeah, sure, help yourself. Go to the cabinet so I can finish this one more thing, and like just get yourself something. And of course, they're gonna reach for those convenient snacks, which
let's talk about. Okay, so let's talk about the snacks.
Yeah.
What are some of the snacks that you offer? What are some of your ideal snacks? Do you have criteria that you want them to follow for a balanced snack?
Yes. I do. The issue is they're not followed at all, because I think the prepping, and again, this is so funny, because I know what I should be doing, but implementing it is difficult. The easiest things for them to go is to go grab something themselves. And I want them to be independent. My children, I have 3 kids that I have a set of twins, and they are 8 going on 9. So at this point, it's like, you should be able to help yourself a little bit and help me, because I work from home most of the time. They come home after school and they are hungry. We actually just talked about a solution for that recently, you and I. And so they want to eat immediately, like granola bars and that sort of stuff, which are supposed to be like things that I use for snacks at school, or maybe sports, like really quickly. I don't want them filling up on granola bars just before dinner.
No.
I would much rather them have some more nutritional items that aren't just packaged.
Yeah.
I think like with the packaged stuff, you're just going to have lots more sugar, lots more sodium. and it's just simply out of convenience, and they can crush like a box.
Oh, they can, no problem.
Yeah, which means for me, it's like you're hungry.
Oh, yeah.
You need something other than a granola bar.
Yes.
And granola bars also cost a lot more.
They do.
Even that, like what we spend on snacks is ridiculous. So,
yeah, because you get about 5 bars in a box. So I'd say the criteria I would suggest for someone looking for balanced snack is to choose a carb that's containing fiber, which some of the granola bars do contain, not all of them, and then paired with a protein.
Yes.
So some sort of cheese, nuts, peanut butter, hard-boiled eggs.
You had made a post that I loved about these like bento box snacks, and that's what I mean by getting ahead of things. Those are things I need to implement.
Yeah, because those bento boxes,
can grab it.
Yes, they have saved my life.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I do and that people could do is, as you know, some people may have seen, we also have that fruit and veg platter.
Yes.
So most nights there are leftovers from that fruit and veg platter. Those leftovers can go directly into the bento box.
Yeah.
Okay, so that you have it prepared for the next day. And then something as simple as slicing cheese or throwing in cashews, because they're not allowed nuts at school, but they're happy eating nuts outside of school. Or recently we started offering them these breakfast cookies kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I know you were.
Yeah, so that's another option as well. But things that
homemade muffins.
Homemade muffins.
Yeah, and they like to bake, so that's something I need to incorporate.
Yes. Okay, and then
So
that
once a
helps to
week,
pass
like
time
muffin,
too.
yes. Yeah, yeah, that would be a good one. That's a good
So kind of using those leftovers that you have in the kitchen, or just quickly slicing some apples.
I'm totally going to use a muffin one.
Okay, great.
The kids make their own snacks.
Yeah. That would be great.
Activity plus snack in one.
And then another thing you could do is, so it is tough because you want to encourage the independence. Okay, another option could be, could you have on the table a bowl of washed fruit? Like, let's just say apples.
Oh, yes. We do have that. And they and they do have that. It's like you turn your back, though, they're going to go.
Oh, they are.
That's like
to
use.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want the independence for when they need to grab it for things like sports, but then it's kind of certain times, but then not other times.
And I hear me and my husband, the kids are like, I want a snack. And they're like, go get yourself one. Like, because we're in the middle of doing something and like trying to not be like, act like a servant all the time, because I don't want them expecting that too, that I'm going to serve them hand and foot. But then of course, what they're going to go get themselves is not what I like. They're not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to make myself a healthy snack here and chop up my cheese and get my fruit. They're going to go for the convenient stuff. So definitely to give them, I think like having those ready-made bento boxes is like, get your snack is there. Go get it for yourself.
Yeah.
Grab it for yourself. But this is what you are allowed to have.
Yep. That's nice.
So I think that one. And the other one I had mentioned before is what I realized that my grandmother always used to make a soup, and like having that. And I did that a few days ago. Like, they have soup after school. And at first they were like, what?
I think that was my reaction to the soup. Mm-hmm.
But they loved it. They
love that idea.
Had it all.
That's easy.
Like, they were all like empty bowls of soup, and they didn't ask for snacks. And like, again, it's like, yes, I'm going to have to like warm this up and label it for them because I don't trust them with that yet. But they're not too far to being able to do that for themselves. And that, like, I felt like so much better. But then the next day I forgot to make soup. So I think it's those things of like the consistency. You have the best intention, but then the follow through when you're busy is difficult.
It is.
Yes. My husband is also not culinary inclined at all. So everything falls on me.
It's you.
And again, having my background, you would expect that, okay, that's easy. But I actually was like, I actually really hate it. I hate everything to do with cooking now.
I know. It doesn't go away because it comes back the next day.
It comes the next day.
Okay, we talked about the snacks, and then let's move into where they're eating the snacks, where they're eating the food, and the location of food consumption in the household.
It's bad in ours.
Okay.
Because they'll eat it in front of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then they, I look at them just like, what is happening right now? There's like wrappers around them. There's no ending.
I know. Chocolate like spread on the chair.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. And then I'll get mad at them.
Yes. And it's like adults. It's the mindless eating in front of the TV.
Totally. It is mindless eating. And now it's habitual for them.
It is. Yeah. They want to recharge in front of the TV.
Yes.
And so moving into meals, then let's talk about the importance of sitting at the dinner table.
That one I'm good at.
Okay. Yes.
I am pretty militant with that.
Uh-huh.
Getting everybody to sit down at the table at the same time. Big believer in requiring that as a family unit, not just like for nourishment or needing to like, we need to eat dinner. It is actually like time for us to connect. Again, reflecting on my own past with my family, I felt like when everybody started to go off and have separate meals, our family unit crumbled.
Mm-hmm.
Like my parents ended up divorcing. Like just, I remember just sitting there one time eating myself and be like, where is everybody?
Oh.
Like what happened? Like we used to have meals.
Yeah.
And then, and of course, just like there's different activities, stuff happens, but it does take work to have to like decide, are we going to eat as a family?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do that? Because sometimes, I mean, we have swimming that starts at like 5:30, sometimes at 4:15, sometimes like, you know, looking at the calendar ahead and being like, how are we going to have dinner? Really important to like put in activities. Like it bothers me when my husband doesn't mention like, oh, William has a hockey game, you know, today at 5. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I got to get this done. So we're working on that, but I think that's very important. And, you know, that comes with like parents that all of a sudden are hit with activities. You didn't used to have this. And then now you're in the thick of it. It takes a minute to get yourself organized around that, but very committed to having that time for dinner, working on table manners.
Yeah. So
you know, respect to everybody at the table, listening to how everybody's day was, I think is really important at this age for them.
Yeah. I think that there are so many different lessons to be learned in regards to eating together at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Yes, eating is important because you need to get your fuel, your nutrients. The reality, though, sometimes people aren't hungry, though.
Yeah.
Right? And so they don't want to eat that much.
They still have to sit at the dinner table.
They still have to sit at the dinner table.
My youngest sometimes like, I'm not hungry yet. I should probably eat some bunch of
Yeah. And so there's
like,
there's the importance of satisfying your hunger, but there's learning the social skills.
Yes.
And socializing while you're eating and having manners and understanding how to navigate picky eating as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's food that they don't like and you're constantly catering to them, how are they going to then behave when they're eating outside of the house?
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's at a friend's house or at a restaurant, they haven't learned those skills of maybe just ignoring that food on the plate or eating other things or how to handle that. So the home environment is the place to practice these behaviors and sitting together.
Yeah.
And
with the picky eating too, it's like I find that sometimes things go through phases.
Mm-hmm.
Like my youngest all of a sudden is off of cheese. Loved cheese. Now all of a sudden is not. But I'm still gonna like, do you want to try it today?
Mm-hmm.
You just like one bite and sometimes just change your mind. And all of a sudden cheese is now back on the menu for her. So I think it's important to just, you know, as a nutritionist or culinary background, just keep putting the options out there.
Yep.
If parents are really worried that, you know, their palate's becoming very limited. And, you know, I have lots of friends that this is a major issue where all their kid is going to eat cucumbers and hot dogs.
Yep.
You know, but like you keep giving them the option, not making it an overly stressful situation.
No.
Because then you're going to have a whole bunch of other complexes and just really resent the whole experience. But just kind of gently, like, just give it like one bite. And if you still don't like it, okay, fine. You know, if chicken's not your thing today, just give it one bite. And if you don't like it, fine. But just repeatedly doing that, and you'd be surprised how quickly that can change.
That's right. And so accepting, okay, they want to bite, they don't want to bite, and then move on, not turning it into something.
Yes.
Because like you said, that can have lasting effects beyond just the importance of them eating that bite in the moment,
Yes.
right? It really can have an effect on us and how we follow even our hunger cues. So just respecting whether they want to accept that food or not, but they do have to stay at the table.
Yes. And the whole ritual of the table, you know, listening to somebody's day, everybody has to share in their experience, and we all have to help clean up after like the kids have to like clear their plates and all of that, I think is really important. Again, just going down to respect for one another. It's more than just like sharing a meal. There's a lot that has to happen there. So that's like, I die on my sword for that one. I understand like so many parents have different schedules. They work late
Mm-hmm.
and they can't have maybe a dinner together. Then perhaps it's a weekend breakfast, or maybe there's one dinner that they can have. But I still think that there is more to like the ritual of sharing a meal together in a family that is really brings in a lot of important life lessons for kids, whether again, manners, traditions. I know you talked about those things before.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great time to like share in that experience, whether it's, the recipes that they're having. Oh, this is our grandmother's soup, or grandmother's shepherd's pie that we're having today. Those family connections is a really important time to connect, is around a meal and around a table.
It is. And you say around a table because there is benefit in sitting around a table where you have to make eye contact with family members versus sitting across.
Like at a kitchen island.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think so. Take what you can get.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your only option.
Yep, that's true.
Then it's still your time to connect. But I do think if you have a table, it is beneficial to sit all around it. And
It is.
see each other again in that type of environment, which again is teaching them how to be at a restaurant, throwing a whole meal. That's difficult for kids that are 5 or 6.
It very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to learn, like, definitely no tablets at the table. None of those things that can be a form of distraction. Like, if you're into intentional living, I think being intentional through a meal together is really important.
Yep, exactly. I think we can both agree there that device free, ideally no toys at the table, and just connecting about your day and asking each other questions and learning the manners there. And again, without the devices, you can be present and enjoying your food.
Yeah.
Because our daughter, she is not into eating breakfast. We're not going to force her to eat breakfast, and putting a device in front of an individual, sure, it can assist them in getting the food down, but it means they aren't being present in the moment and enjoying their food and following their hunger cues. So that is not something I would advise, just so that they can get food down for a meal.
Yeah. It's so hard. Like, parents are, they're always that struggle of like, what do I want to fight for? Is this worth a fight?
Mm-hmm.
Or can I just let this one go for today? And it can become a very slippery slope of like, okay, well, I just keep doing this. And now this is a habit. Now like my kid has to have a tablet at a meal.
Yeah.
Or they can't eat, this way, or they can't eat with all of us. They have to run off. And if I ask them to sit longer, we're having like a full on fight. So that is something that I empathize with every parent that struggles with it. I mean, I think I have to go over those things every single meal.
Yes.
Like my son constantly tries to run off.
Yeah.
Before he's been excused, before he's cleared his plate. And it's a reminder every single meal. Like, you're not finished yet. Like, if you have finished eating, that's fine, but dinner's not over yet.
Yeah.
Like, your dad was in the middle of talking.
Yes.
Where are you going?
Yes. So for us, we set a child's clock and we set the time that we need them sitting at the table until, so that they have an idea.
Yeah, that's a good one. Of like, yeah, you're not going anywhere until this time. Which is important for them to know, because I think in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm going to be stuck here forever.
Feels like forever to them.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a clock would be a good thing if somebody's really struggling with like keeping kids involved in a meal. And I mean, I think that as your children are really young, like 3 or 4, you can be a little bit more flexible with that. But I think once the age of like 6, 7, 8, I think the expectations are to go through an entire meal.
Yep. Now, do you want to talk about putting together a lunch and a meal and what kind of nutrients or what foods you're looking at for balance?
Yes. I mean, thankfully, my kids love fruit and vegetables. Fruit and vegetables, I think for parents, requires prep, which again, I think even that in itself can be a hurdle. Making sure that you have fruit, like, I'll take a melon and cut it up or something like that. I mean, if you want convenient stuff to just purchase it, pre-cut up, that's an easy way to just be able to have fruit on hand, vegetables on hand. I mean, it was super important for them to get that fiber and nutrition that's not processed. So that's a must, obviously, within, like, again, bento boxes. I think everybody, I mean, for most kids' lunches is kind of like standard. So having compartments for that, it's like done. You've gotten the fiber and the fruits and the vegetables and the vitamins that they need from that.
Yes.
again, with our kids, they love that. So that's not a hard one, other than just the fact of making sure we have it on hand.
I know.
When I don't, I'll like running out. It's the end of like the grocery list. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to give them
I know.
for fresh fruit snacks?
I know.
We really have to have a very good, systemized grocery list. Starting there is probably, half the battle of making sure in order to have those snacks on hand and having that lunch at the nutritional level that you would want, which is like as little processed stuff as possible, then you need to make sure you're shopping that way.
Yep, exactly.
Just being methodical, like not just wandering around.
It's not. That's right. And sometimes I find myself, I'm planning the dinner for the day and I don't have those groceries and I don't have time to run to the grocery store. But I will use the Instacart app because that does allow the groceries to get delivered same day.
Yes. And you have like using technology in any way, I think I'm a big fan of. Using that, can it remember some of your like previous
it does.
menu things? So I think that's really great if like you're not like, you're really tired. Sometimes it's just the time to spend to like, what do I need to put on the list this week? That in of itself can be really exhausting. And it's amazing how little time you have to dedicate that to that. But having stuff where you can record that repeatedly, I think is one way to like remove that. So whether it's like a Google Doc or something, it's like, this is our typical grocery list. So you're not like starting from scratch every single week. Like these are the things that we need to have, like noticing what you go through as a family. Like, okay, we have 5 lunches we need to make. And each of those lunches, these are the fruits that we need to have. Like, so just spending a little bit of time being methodical and planning it out. And then recording it digitally. Like I have a list that I have on the fridge that I need to get away from. Like it's one of those like pads, it's like meals. And then like you kind of write things out. And it's just a habit that I have as I see some things missing from the fridge, I'll write it there. However, there's times where I'm like, oh, now I need to go for a grocery shop and I don't have my list.
Okay.
So it's like, well, it's on the fridge, but I don't have it. But if it's like on my phone, if I have like a regular Google Doc or some sort of digital grocery list.
Okay. So it can potentially be shared if it,
yes,
if
or
it's
or to my husband, or just like, again, it's not something I'm starting from scratch every single time.
Yep. Okay.
I have like a standard list of like items that we always need to have on hand. I know our family goes through like cucumber like almost every single day. It's a popular one. We use it a lot. I use it in salads. So does my husband. The kids love it. So like literally I need to make sure we have 7 cucumbers.
Okay. For the week.
If we're going to go through for the week. Yeah.
Yep.
If I only want to buy groceries once a week, then yeah, make sure they're not over like too ripe.
So you're kind of saying on Monday, you're looking at your list and ensuring that you have those items in stock.
Meal planning is where I think everything starts. Like really like, what are we having for dinner this week? If you have a plan for that, then you're really not running into that on a daily basis. It's only once. I run into that all the time. And whenever I do, I regret it. Of like, I had no plan. I don't know what we're having. One thing I have found that has helped is I go by like type of foods that we like.
Okay.
So Monday for us is always like Mediterranean. Think Italian food. It is spaghetti for the kids or a pasta of some sort, lasagna. They love it. For me, like that's too carb heavy for me. I can't. It doesn't feel good for me. So I have just like a big Italian salad and like some sort of chicken and that's what I like to have for that. But it at least grounds me into like not too many options to think about.
Okay, so you're saying that for each day of the week, you have somewhat of a theme.
Yes, I do.
That really helps to guide it and narrow it down.
Tuesday's Taco Tuesday.
Okay.
It's a taco bowl. It's basically Mexican. Tacos, fish tacos, shrimp tacos, whatever kind of taco, something. Taco Tuesday, the kids love it. They know that Taco Tuesday is their thing.
Okay.
Wednesday is Greek.
Okay.
Does not rhyme, but it's just Greek. And we love Greek food. So.
Okay.
Again, it just, helping me plan out a menu. I know I'm like, okay, Wednesday we need something of this. It could be pork souvlaki, it could be chicken, tzatziki, that sort of stuff. But it's just like less choice. Sometimes it's so overwhelming.
It is.
Too
many options.
Yeah, Thursday will be something Asian.
Okay.
Inspired. So salmon, teriyaki, noodles, that sort of stuff. They love it. But something along those lines.
Okay.
But again, we're just thinking in that lens. So I just know I need to have these ingredients on hand. Friday's pizza night.
Okay.
So that's going to be our one, like, or takeout night, basically.
Okay.
That's our
Okay.
one night where we will order takeout in. And then Saturday and Sunday is usually more of a slow cooked kind of like we have a roast chicken on Saturday, something like that. A little bit, I have a little bit more time to dedicate towards that, or some steaks or something a little bit more fancy.
Okay. And so that's for both Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. I think that this criteria can be really helpful for listeners so that they can implement the themes that they like and then use that as a guide.
Yeah, I mean, again, choice can be overwhelming. So
Mhm.
just picking like things that you normally like out of those categories. Whether it's like, yeah, we love, our whole family agrees that we love Italian food. One night is dedicated towards that. It's several different Italian options to not make it boring.
Mhm.
Because I think having the exact same menu every week can get a little bit
Mhm.
boring. So, but there's so many options within a genre of food. So, I mean, that's, I think, a way to kind of make things exciting, but also structured.
Yep.
And
Oh,
just
I love that.
simplifying things a little bit. So I'm a big user of slow cookers. I love a slow cooker, like Sunday chili or something like that. Um, you're just not on the stove, but something's being made.
Mhm.
When I used to have to commute to work, that was a big lifesaver. I would put it in the morning. Lots of different slow cooking options. And when we would come home, my husband and I, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, which was like still a blessing, but everyone's starving.
Mhm. You want to eat right
We're
away.
starving. And
Yeah.
like all we had to basically do was like a salad. And I would have like a side that I would make the night before, whether that was like cooked pasta for the kids or rice or
Okay.
something like that. You can easily just reheat, but like there was a cooked option that was ready made, that was warm, and that like smelled good. And we all came home and like dinner was on the table. That was a lifesaver. But other people may really rely on pre-cooked meals of some sort if they just can't, if they're commuting late and they need to have that done and they're not there.
Okay. I want to go back to the side that you would make the night before.
Mhm.
Did you make that after you had dinner in preparation for the next day?
Yes.
Okay.
So sometimes it's something I'm doing in the evening.
Okay. That's a great idea. And this
Yeah.
is kind of as you're cleaning up in the kitchen.
Yeah. So something like brown rice. I mean, it's like on the stove, just kind of cooks there, and then the next day you do have to reheat it with like a
Mhm.
little bit of water or something
Okay.
like that to make it not like dried. Quinoa freezes really well.
Okay.
So those are other things. Pasta obviously keeps really well. Just with a little bit of oil in a container, and then you can use it so many different ways. Baked or whatever with some sauce the next day. But some sort of like starch, is typically what we need. Um, Roasted vegetables you can do a lot in a big sheet pan, and they'll hold for a couple of days.
Okay.
So definitely meal planning. If you
That's
look
great.
into that, I mean, there's so many options. Like if you get on Pinterest or something, for some ideas of just being able to meal plan, going and buying like things from Costco, larger packages, and then freezing it with marinades for meats. Is another thing I actually rely on a lot.
Okay.
So you're just grabbing something the night before. And again, it's like Italian chicken, or like, when it's our teriyaki chicken, or when there's lots of chicken.
Yeah.
But it's basically in the marinades of those days. So then I'm just like pulling out Greek and pulling out like whatever Japanese.
Oh, that's very
So
helpful.
for those specific days. So again, it just takes time away from the like, well, what am I gonna have?
Mhm.
And what goes with this? And oh no, I don't have that ingredient. I don't feel like this. I just had it yesterday.
So for past
Yeah.
recipes
Mhm.
you've used, do you have a place where you like to record them or store them so that you can refer back for easy reference rather than racking your
I do
brain?
like Pinterest that I've used before because you can pin stuff.
Okay.
So if a recipe's worked before and I liked it, and then it's in like a board that I have of family recipes. I mean, again, I have my background allows me just to have a really good memory of what goes with what. But most people, if there's something that they like, this was a hit. Our family loved it. Remember that, write it down, keep it somewhere. Like that's something to return to that is going to be a hit for your family, whether it was a pasta recipe that you tried or something. But there's like now you're not starting from scratch again. It's something that worked. Bring it back in a couple weeks. Whatever that was, whatever the ingredients were, remember that and document it somewhere. I think that helps again, that time of like, what are we going to make for dinner?
Yeah, I think that documentation does help to reduce the mental load
Yes.
so that you aren't relying on your memory. I know you said you have
Yeah.
a great memory, but I don't. And so I like recording everything somewhere so that I don't have to think. I
Yeah.
can just look at the list. Oh yeah, we've made this. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, some people, again, there's just, they're put in the responsibility of feeding their family, and it's just not their thing.
No,
They hate it.
they do.
I mean, again, I could totally empathize with it. I was my thing, and it's still the time I dread the most every single day.
Yeah.
Even with all these things.
Yes.
Pre-planned.
Yes. It's a never ending challenge.
Yeah. I think just in those years of with small children in particular, I mean, I think once our kids are older, I think this might change a little bit. I think it's really disheartening when you're dealing with picky eaters too. And it's like you've put in this time to make this meal and they're like, I don't, ew, I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just like,
yeah,
I could
I
have
worked
been doing
so
something
hard.
else.
Yes.
Like, here's your peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
Like I guess like I give up. Like that's often, you know, a sentiment that you feel of like, I just give up and then I don't want to do anything about this. I don't want to make the grocery list anymore. Like I am done. But you can't be.
No.
So
Okay. Do you want to move on to beverages?
mhm.
I'd love to hear your take on beverages, what your kids are consuming, what you allow them to consume.
Yes. I have probably a controversial view on it.
Uh-oh.
I'm more laissez-faire with
Okay.
this. Because I have found, you know, just with our kids, if I deny them something too much, then they really want it.
Mm-hmm.
Like pop, for example, is probably like the worst thing, but they've been exposed to it. Birthday
Okay.
parties, everything. It's in our house. We all know it's probably the worst thing that you can have. We allow our kids to have it sometimes on the weekends,
Okay.
special occasions for sure. More so in the summers when it's like holidays. Because again, I don't want them to feel like it's such forbidden fruit that they're like thinking about it.
You're making a great point because in our household as well, they are allowed to have everything
In
within
moderation.
reason.
Yes.
Yes. And what I've experienced, what I've witnessed, and like personally as a child, when you deprive someone of something, they just want it more. And when
Yeah.
they get access to it, they go overboard. So, you know, I think it's okay to let them have, if you're okay with the pop, letting them have pop every once in a while. And especially if there is a special occasion, like a party or a celebration, embracing it, because part of it is the social aspect, right? And everyone's enjoying themselves. And do you want to be the parent there giving them a hard time about this small
I think they
thing?
just have more resentment. And there's
They
going to
do.
be some sort of an issue with that and the control and all of that. And again, it's I think just talking to them, like my daughter's probably has way more of a sweet tooth. Like she could like crush a can of pop. And like that's too much like for her. Like when we have pizza night, I'll order the pop with it. And like we'll have a little bit of ginger ale. My son won't finish it. Not his thing. My youngest one doesn't like anything fizzy. But my daughter really likes it. And I do just have to be like, you know, mindful of it. Like, no, you can't have a can. You can have a bit of a glass. Like, if there's a lot of sugar, you can absolutely have some.
Yes.
But, you know, it's not going to make you feel good or like it's not going to be good for you. So, and just going through explaining why.
Having conversation.
I think is more important. And again, I'm not going to deny her it or make her feel like really bad for it. But just like understanding, like it's a treat. We just have a little bit and it's a treat. Otherwise, it's just not good for you. It's not good for your teeth. We go through all of that, and she is accepting of that.
Yeah, I find that, and then you can allow them to figure it out themselves as well. And maybe we'll have a stomach ache if she drinks too much.
Yeah,
right.
It's happened.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, it has. Yeah, same with us with like the candy or.
Oh yeah, she's had a stomach ache from candy.
Mhm.
We go over that, you know, like all of that, and I'd rather again, it's not something that you know then she wants in secret. I think that those are
That's right.
things that like you know what may end up happening. I'd rather it be out in the open and like it's available and like even to discussing like you know my husband also has like you know loves a little chocolate you know and that sort of stuff and he's like yeah it's hard for me too but I gotta say no that it's normal and like needing to control those things but not in a overly restrictive
No.
way. I don't think is a good approach for them. That I've just found that.
Yeah, I think it often
backfires.
ends up being counterproductive.
Yeah.
And I find some people would be surprised as to how we feed our kids and what we allow, because being a former dietitian, you know, they think that I am or would be restrictive, but I have the same views as you that when you deprive them of something, they just want it more.
Yeah.
And then you aren't teaching them how to consume something in moderation
Well, again,
and follow
one day
those
they won't
hunger
be around you,
cues.
right?
Mhm.
They're going to go to that birthday party and crush so much pop.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's like
Go
all of a
nuts.
sudden they're allowed.
Yes.
So I mean, I think that again, it's like being able to watch it in the environment. So if you're denying it completely, then you don't have that ability to teach them because they're not gonna learn, and they will be out on their own doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
Exposed to this stuff sooner than you think. If you want them to have a life and have a social life and go to the movies with their friends,
Mhm.
they're gonna have access.
Yep. And there are things that you can do. Like you said, the can of pop, but you didn't let her have the whole can.
No.
She can have some, but not the whole can. If you have multiple kids, they can share the can.
Yeah.
Same with chocolate milk, I would say. Yes, it has calcium, can be high in sugar, but if you maybe add some white milk or split it up, it can reduce the amount of sugar.
It's a treat. Like teaching them that like treats are not supposed to be consumed in large quantities
Mhm,
for a
mhm.
reason. And like it's supposed to be special, like it tastes great for a reason. But like if you're actually thirsty, that's
That's a different story.
yeah. If you're telling me you're thirsty, then you're drinking that glass of water first.
Yeah.
And then you can have your treat. You can have some
Mhm.
ginger ale after a little bit, not like a full can. But again, it's just like just teaching them that balance and what you actually need right now and what do you want and why do you want it. So I think it's having that discussion openly around food, teaching them healthy habits is really important.
And it starts with your own habits and role modeling.
Mhm.
And how are you eating? Are you open to eating foods? Are you being restrictive? Everything that you are doing and eating, they're watching you.
Yes.
So it's really being mindful of that and what they're absorbing just by being around you and
Absolutely.
witnessing.
Absolutely. I think that's very important. I think I have a pretty good healthy. I enjoy healthy food, thankfully. So yeah, I think we do keep a pretty good stock of stuff, and they see us eating that. I think it is really just pre-planning is probably the biggest challenge, and making sure you have all those things on hand and knowing what to say when they're trying to push your buttons on that is the biggest challenge of like parenting and food together. Such a challenge.
It is. The pre-planning is the hardest part, but having that aspect covered means that you can make these great choices. And when you're starving and don't know what to eat, you aren't turning to the wrong food, and
Mhm.
rather you have a food to turn to that is nutritious, and fueling the family rather than eating some food that is not otherwise a great choice.
Yeah, it's so funny that all the pre-planning will save you time.
Mhm.
And it's funny to still like you're your own worst enemy when you don't follow that. Like that these are the right things to have to do. And I know every time I don't, and like I said, I don't have the list on me or I don't plan around those things, I pay the consequences immediately.
Yeah.
So it really is just building that habit of having a day for meal planning if that's the best. And then it's like almost like this Sunday, we do our grocery shop and we meal plan. Like I would love to get to that. That is something I still struggle with is when to do a grocery shop. I don't know why. I think still still adjusting with like sports and schedules can really throw things off. So, but if I have the opportunity to be like, this is my day and I plan for the week, then all of the meals around that work out smoothly.
Yeah.
If I don't have that, they don't. It's like every time.
And one thing I find can be helpful because, yes, meal planning is such a challenge and coming up with these ideas is getting buy-in from the kids. So asking them what they enjoy and what they would like to eat in the week
Yes.
ahead, based on the recipes you've made.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not
like, I want to have a candy
yes,
salad.
yes, not just opening it up, but giving them some options, so that they are potentially more likely to eat it, and it gives some ideas as well.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is get your kids involved in meal planning, like meal preparation.
Yes, I was going to ask if that's something, given
Yes.
their ages, if you have any involvement.
I have
from
done
them.
that since they were little. They obviously wanted to get into it. It's like playing for them, and I think I would encourage people to do that. I think, and sometimes I forget, and I actually had to remind my daughter. It's like you haven't cooked for a long time. Like come, like you're making pasta for dinner on Saturday, and she was so proud of herself. She was asking everybody, "How was it? Did you enjoy it? Was it good?" Like for herself, like it's a
She's excited.
confidence.
Yeah.
And like getting the joy when people were enjoying, like this is my son, like had thirds of it. And she
Wow.
was so like, didn't I make the best?
Oh, that's
Like just
amazing.
between the two of them, like she felt really good. And it's a life skill you need to learn.
Yeah.
Like again, I look at my husband, like he's like talked about it. No one ever taught him.
Wow.
All his meals were made for him.
Okay.
And it's sometimes a struggle because I'm like, I'd like you to step in here a little bit more. And he just doesn't like he's a lost cause.
Okay. Yeah. So it starts when they're young.
Yeah, it really does start with they're young.
Yeah.
Boys, girls, like, making
both.
sure that both of them spend time there, enjoy it, have fun. By the time they're in high school, they should be able to cook themselves meals.
Oh, yeah.
Like full on meals and make it for you, at some point. Like, because then I even remember this in university, like living with some of my housemates, some of them knew how to cook for themselves and some of them didn't. Like they just ate takeout because they just didn't know how.
And there's a difference between knowing how to open a can and knowing how to cook a recipe from scratch.
And a healthy meal that's actually good for you.
Yes, exactly.
Like university students, like you're out there on your own, like they still need to eat well rather than just like, craft dinner.
I know with some families that have kids who are old enough and multiple kids, each family member has a responsibility for each day.
That's a good one.
And so they're responsible for choosing what is made, what is on the menu, and then they are the ones cooking it.
I think that's very smart. I think that's a great lesson and something I probably would definitely implement.
Yeah.
Sharing the load also, I think that also brings in respect for the person that is like been predominantly cooking, like understanding. Like sometimes my husband does do it. He's just like, like so overwhelmed. And I'm like, do you see? Do you see?
Yes, he has an understanding of what you're going through. And then it's also for the kids at the table, having the appreciation for the person who's cooked it when those other meals, they've said, yuck, this is gross.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's a daddy meal. Yeah.
And lastly, one of the things that I loved you said you do with your family is at the end of the meal, not only do you all have to sit around, you wait until the meal is done, but everyone is responsible for clearing the table.
Yes.
Right? Because yes, while you cooked it, everyone took part in the meal, everyone ate it. And so everyone should be responsible for clearing it together, not just one.
And it can start pretty early. I mean, 3-year-olds can take forks off the table.
Yes. Our kids also are responsible for clearing their dishes. They don't clear everything. Alex and I do that, but they are responsible for their place setting.
Yeah. Yeah. As they get older, the responsibilities go up. Like, and I think at some point they should be entirely responsible.
Yep.
As soon as they're able to like clear off their own plate, the next level is to do the rest of it. Turn on the dishwasher. Yep. We are big on chores. That's how they make money, which they want. So I think those are all part of like meal preparation is beyond just like, again, eating. It is bringing in really important life lessons.
Yes, it is. And it starts now and not once they reach a certain age.
No, like early as possible makes it so much easier. And they can be involved in like helping get groceries, unload stuff, like as much as possible. It takes the load off of you.
It does. Yeah.
And then builds really healthy habits.
I love that. Well, thank you for joining, Tatiana. It's been so great chatting about your experience and what you do within your household, with your family. I think there are many things that the listeners and I can take away from it so that we can start implementing it in our households.
Thank you for having me.
If you like this and want to hear more, want to learn more tips or share your tips on how you've incorporated healthy eating in your household, follow us on Instagram at Intentional Household and DM us anytime.